Good evening, welcome to the October 13th Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Teresa, if you call.
Morelli?
Here.
I have a good friend right here. Councilwoman Walloway? Here. Supervisor Barrett?
Here. Did you have?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Communications announcements, a couple of quick things. One, I've been discussing with a gentleman by the name of Corey Kirchett. Corey does not live in Clifton Park any longer, but he was the gentleman when he was much younger that put the seal together. Beautiful seal, always been very proud of it. But been discussing with him possibly making some changes, updating, nothing too major, but some additions that may be nice, especially going into our bicentennial celebration in several years. Would be nice to do something around that as well. So we have, since he's not in the area, and it's obviously not as convenient for him to come to a town board meeting, we're going to have a public Zoom call on the 20th at 11 and talk about some of the ideas. And that way it'll perhaps spur some more conversation about it. But again, not major changes, but definitely, I think some impressive options for improvement. The Community Action Fund Committee met and made recommendations. I left those recommendations in the mailboxes of the town board members. Nobody has been contacted as of yet. Not going to do that until these awards are approved. Perhaps we can look to approve them next week. But those are the recommendations from the committee. They did take a good deal of time to consider all the requests. You know, this year we had a lot more money than last year, almost double, which is fantastic. So I want to thank everybody for their donations. I have about $16,000 available for grants this year. We've got about 24 of these grant awards occur without the use of any town funds. These are all funds that are collected through donations of returnable bottles and cans at the transfer station and also at the common. So if you could take a look at those during the week, and we'll come back and discuss them again next week. Back in February, we approved the formation of a Veterans Committee for the town of Clifton Park. And that was right before COVID hit and the shutdown. So, like some other things, it was kind of put on the shelf for a little bit as we were dealing with a whole new reality. But I'd like to bring that idea back. Since it is already approved and ready to go, it's made up. The committee will be made up of myself, a town board member, and 7 volunteers. Anthony Morelli has offered his services to be the town board member. I think with his background as a veteran, it's a good match. So appreciate that, Councilman Morelli. So there's 7 volunteers. I had spoken to a few folks that, names that we all know, leaders in the veterans community here in Clifton Park and around the region. But if there are any board members have any ideas for people that they would like to see added as we get the committee going, please forward those and we can discuss those at a future meeting. When it comes to a veterans committee, okay, what does a Veterans Committee do? Well, I think it should celebrate service of our veterans, both living and deceased. I'd like us to comprise a veteran ceremony that we can have on a regular basis, including not only people from our community, but around the county, as part of that, celebrating and honoring our veterans, and have some ideas. I think the group can discuss the ideas a little further and come up with like I said, a regular, I would say, regularly scheduled ceremony to honor veterans throughout town. So that's kind of the thinking around there, at least in the beginning. Where the discussion will go from there, we'll see. But I just wanted to bring that up again, and I think it's time we get the committee officially, or it's formed, get the representatives appointed, and move forward. I posted a PSA that we'll put on our Facebook page and website. It's about suicide assistance. Well, I shouldn't phrase it that way. Assistance to prevent suicide for our veterans, and it's a very good short PSA, but straight from the heart, straight from the words of a veteran who had a lot of problems and struggles when he was in the service, and after leaving service, when he separated from service. And then at the end of the PSA, which is about a minute long, there's some very good information as well. So we'll post that the town Facebook page and website. It was very well done. All right, any other communications announcements before we get to resolutions?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'd just like to take a few minutes to concentrate on the 15-minute storm that happened Wednesday night.
Right.
A great deal of damage. Amazing when something like that happens in this community, how quickly the outside agencies and town groups come together. Within minutes, I saw barriers from volunteer fire department marking the roads were closed. I understand that there were close to 36 with some originally. A lot of people to thank. National Grid, who was immediately and really brought in agencies from other departments and other parts of the state to assist our own highway department, who's still working on clearing roads. Volunteer fire departments who had multiple calls Wednesday night, and our own security department, who was out not only patrolling, but putting generators on the traffic lights. And the generators on the traffic lights, unfortunately, had to be refueled every 4 hours. So they were out through the night, Wednesday, and through the day, Thursday, doing 24/7 shifts. So thank you to everyone who participated.
Yeah, it was a long few days for a very short storm. There's no doubt about that. I know a lot of people were in the position where they didn't get power back till Friday night. Just about everybody had their power back. There were 90 customers still without power at that point. And it was a massive effort with a lot of resources that National Grid brought in on Friday that restored power to thousands of customers. But yeah, it was very difficult. When you have that kind of damage, closing of roads, people without power for a few days. Thankfully, the weather was just like it's been pretty much the whole year. It was beautiful, which helped with the restoration efforts, which it wasn't cold, so we didn't have a lot of demand for people needing to shelter. I think our greatest demand was after we put out a message that if you need a place to kind of relax for a little bit outside the house, charge your phone, whatever, something of that nature, please give us a call. We did have some folks stop by Town Hall, charge their phone, the senior center as well. The volunteer fire departments, they all had dozens of calls right away, so right after that storm. swept through. And town personnel have just been great, working around the clock, doing many different tasks. So,
I forgot putting to gravel to clean the trails now. Interesting, I talked to somebody at the library, and they had so many people wanting Wi-Fi that they actually had people in their cars in the parking lot because of the spacing that they had to do within the library. They couldn't get everybody in. Everybody came together.
yeah, it's not only the clearing of streets and trails and town land, but it's also dealing with tree issues where trees are on our property close to private property. I know Dan here and for 2 days, we're just running from one call to the next where folks were calling and saying, hey, there's a tree that's on town land and it's next to my house and it's very concerning. So I know they were running from call to call on that, in addition to trying to clear as many trails and town parks as possible. Again, just to make everything as safe as possible for people. They want to if the weather continued to be beautiful. Saturday, Sunday, a lot of people had Monday off. It was a beautiful Monday for the most part. So people want to be outside, and we need to make our parks safe. So yeah, kudos to all the town employees that worked hard and did a great job. And yeah, so that was the worst power outage we've had since the last hurricane. Well, Hurricane Irene, I guess, wasn't nearly as bad as the ice storm. That still tops the list, but that was as bad as we've had in a number of years. So. And it's actually been pretty calm for storms this summer too. I mean, really, I was surprised at how few thunderstorms there were. And, kind of thinking back of your mind, you're thinking about that because that's when we have to spring into action. It's been quiet along those lines, and then you get to mid-October and boom. So, all right. Any other communications at this point? All right, let's get to the resolutions, Teresa.
A resolution authorizing the assessor to re-levy the expense of repairs or maintenance against the land on which such building is located as provided for section 77-12 of the town code. Whereas in February of 2012, the town board adopted resolution number 40 of 2012 to respond to isolated incidents. The abandonment of properties or extended foreclosure process results in neglect to real property. Whereas section 77-12 of the town code as amended requires that records of costs and expenses incurred in providing such maintenance be reported to the town board no later than November 1st of each year. And whereas the code enforcement officer has reported the identification of 12 vacant, abandoned, or foreclosure properties meeting criteria outlined in section 7710, whereas maintenance performed and contracted by the Buildings and Grounds Department pursuant to section 77 of the town code has been completed by the Department of Buildings and Grounds and Department of Building and Development on all 12 properties at a cost of $6,152.50 per the attached exhibit. And whereas the code requires that the town board authorizes the assessor to re-levy the unpaid bills on affected properties for the next tax roll to ensure repayment to the town consistent with resolution number 40 of 2012. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board authorizes the assessor to re-levy the unpaid bills on the respective properties as delineated, attachment 1 to this resolution for the 2021 town and county tax bills will be it further resolved that all proceeds be returned in February to the town of Clifton Park. A resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider applications for the conservation easement program. Whereas the town board wishes to schedule a public hearing pursuant to section 125(6) of the town code to hear public comments on the applications by Melanie Stackowitz and Greg Ferrota for the inclusion of 2 properties within the town's conservation easement term program. And whereas the applicants have requested term conservation easements status for the following properties: conservation easement historic preservation of 2.5 acres at 393 Bishopberry Road, conservation easement historic preservation 0.5 acres at 989 Main Street. Now therefore be it resolved that a public hearing is scheduled for November 2nd, 2020 in the Clifton Park Senior Community Center, Clifton Park, New York at 7:05 p.m. to consider the above properties for inclusion in the conservation easement program, and be it further resolved that each of the proposed property owners give notice to their neighbors and other entities as provided in the town's conservation. Town clerk is directed to publish appropriate notice of same. A resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement compactor boxes for the transfer station. Whereas Jeffrey Vedder, transfer station supervisor, requested authorization to purchase replacement compactor boxes for existing containers that have been refurbished numerous times and are deemed no longer repairable. And whereas Valley Enterprise Container 111 Eagleville Road, Blanchard, PA, has the replacement boxes per the attached quote at a cost not to exceed $15,370 for purchase. And whereas Mr. Vedder has recommended the equipment be purchased from Valley Enterprise Container, now therefore be it resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $2,984 from transfer station monitoring to transfer station equipment, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the transfer station supervisor to purchase the replacement compactor boxes from Valley Enterprise Container an amount not to exceed $15,370 from transfer station equipment. A resolution authorizing the town supervisor to enter into a lease renewal agreement for properties at 1 Barney Road, whereas resolution number 251 of 2010 authorized the town supervisor to enter into an agreement for the purchase of the Clifton Knolls Executive Golf Course, and whereas resolution number 251 of 2010 and resolution number 21 of 2016 authorized the town to enter into a renewable rental agreement with Atrium Properties for the maintenance equipment, shed, greenskeepers, office, restrooms, and putting green at the Barney Road Clubhouse, as well as a long-term easement for golf course parking. And whereas the town wishes to exercise its options to renew the rental agreement with Robert Phillips of Atrium Properties for the maintenance equipment, shed, greenskeepers, office, restrooms, and putting green at the Barney Road Clubhouse, as well as a long-term easement for golf course parking at an annual cost not to exceed $11,200, and now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to enter into the attached leasehold agreement with Atrium Properties for rental of maintenance shed, putting green, suite 150 at the Barney Road Clubhouse at 1 Barney Road at $1,400 per month from April 1st, 2021 through November 30th, 2025 for an total annual cost not to exceed $11,200 per year. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign just compensation letters for certain right-of-way acquisitions for pedestrian improvements in the Exit 9 corridor. Whereas by resolution number 37 of 2018, the town board authorized a professional services agreement at Greenman Peterson Incorporated, GPI, for a preliminary design work for a pedestrian safety action plan grant funded project in the Exit 9 corridor area in the Clifton Country Road. And whereas by resolution number 8 of 2020, the town authorized funding for design services associated with right-of-way design and acquisition and a boundary survey map. And whereas on October 5th, 2020, GPI recommended the approval of just compensation offers for small acquisitions to advance the project attached. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves just compensation amounts for the properties listed to be charged to Clifton Country Road Capital Projects, Trails, Equipment, and authorizes the supervisor to sign the attached offer letters as recommended. A resolution changing the location of the October 19th, 2020 and November 2nd, 2020 town board meetings to the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. Whereas by resolution number 1 of 2020, the town office building, Vernon Wood Memorial Town Meeting Room, was designated as the official regular meeting place for the town board, and the official regular meetings were established as the first, second, and third Monday of each month at 7:00 p.m. And whereas a state of emergency was first declared in New York on March 7th, 2020 due to COVID-19 and pursuant to executive order number 202.5 issued on March 18th, 2020, town board meetings have a limited capacity for in-person attendance and have been accessible online. And whereas the potential number of participants at public presentations being held on October 19th and November 2nd, 2020 would require more space for applicable distancing guidelines. Now therefore be it resolved that the location of the town board meetings for October 19th and November 2nd, 2020 be held at 7 p.m. at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center to allow proper social distancing during public participation and be it further resolved that the town board meetings through December 2020 will then resume their regular meeting place at the Vernon Wood Memorial Town Meeting Room at Town Hall at 7 p.m. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to publish notice of the change of meetings place for the October 19th and November 2nd, 2020 town board meetings. A resolution to retain MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC for professional engineering services related to the demolition and replacement of retaining walls and concrete patio at Country Knolls Pool. Whereas the town board, as commissioners of the Country Knolls Pool, wishes to retain professional services associated with evaluation, design, and preparation of bid documents for the demolition and replacement of retaining walls and concrete decking with drainage at the Country Knolls Pools. And whereas quotes were solicited by the Department of Buildings and Grounds, and whereas MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC 1533 Crescent Road, Clinton Park, submitted the lowest conforming quote for an amount not to exceed $14,700 for engineering services. Now therefore be it resolved that Supervisor Barrett recommends the quote of MJ Engineering be accepted, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign an agreement with MJ Engineering for professional engineering services for the project at Country Knolls Pool for $14,700 to be paid from Country Knolls Pool Engineering. And be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $14,700 from Country Knolls Pool equipment to cover the expenses. A resolution accepting a proposal from CDPHP for advertising sponsorship on the Senior Express ADA compliant shuttle bus. Whereas a request for bids for the purchase of a new shuttle bus for the senior van services was published, and bids were opened on March 13th, 2020. And whereas the bid request also included alternate bid number 1, soliciting advertising opportunities in the form of a customized wrap that will depict logo, graphics, and lettering of the sponsor. And whereas Capital District Physicians Health Plan has submitted a proposal to support the purchase of the shuttle bus with promotional graphics and messaging through installation of a customized wrap promoting CDPHP health and wellness services for the payment of $3,700. Now therefore be it resolved that the sponsorship of the Senior Express van is awarded to CDPHP for an amount equal to $3,700 to be deposited to donations and gifts. A resolution referring the Waite Meadows PDD to the planning board for an advisory opinion. Whereas Pascarello Waite Meadows LLC has applied for an amendment to the zoning code to authorize a 225 plus or minus acre mixed-use PDD land development community, and whereas the application also seeks authorization for 70 dwelling units in a cluster design, and whereas the applicant also proposes 11 plus or minus acre commercial area consistent with B5 zoning, and whereas the applicant further proposes to convey land to the town designated for open space and trails, and whereas applications for a planned development district require an amendment to the special zoning district pursuant to the PDD approval process contained within chapter 208-72 of the town code. And whereas the town board wishes to refer the Pascarello Waite Meadows LLC application to the planning board for their advisory opinion, now therefore be it resolved that the application of Pascarello Waite Meadows LLC PDD amendment is referred to the town's planning board for their advisory opinion pursuant to chapter 208-71 extract of the town code. A resolution appointing Jennifer Gleason as a member of the Environmental Conservation Commission. Whereas due to the appointment of Keith Martin to the planning board, a vacancy exists on the Environmental Conservation Commission, and whereas Jennifer Gleason, 2 Queensbury Court, Clinton Park, has been recommended to fill the position, and whereas Ms. Gleason's presence on the Environmental Conservation Commission will confer a benefit to the town of Clinton Park. Now therefore be it resolved that Jennifer Gleason is hereby appointed to the Environmental Conservation Commission for the remainder of a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2021.
Very good. Any questions on the resolution, please? Yeah. Teresa, you can hit the headings.
Resolution number 187 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the assessor to relevy the expense of repairs or maintenance against the land on which such building is located as provided for in section 7712 of the town code. So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowit. This has been a very successful program to ensure that we have properties that are abandoned were in somewhere in the process of foreclosure. They did not become a blight on the neighborhood. This became a large problem during the housing crisis some years ago, and that's when we initiated this program, and it's worked very well. Steve Myers regularly investigates the properties to see if there are any safety issues or maintenance items that need to be addressed, sends that to Buildings and Grounds and Dan Clemens, and everything is taken care of. Buildings and Grounds keeps records of the expenses related to their maintenance, and that gets levied back on the properties. Mr. Myers, how you doing?
Good,
So how's it going? How's the program going?
good. I'm down to 6.
Yeah,
The
no,
list right now from, I think, like 27 or something when I was at its peak.
yeah, it's good because over time we some would come off and then others were being added, but now steadily over the last few years it's been dwindling in number, which is a very good sign. So, anything you want to add on this?
Well, hopefully, you get all of them off the list. Here.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to 0. But thank you. Great job on this. Dan, anything you want to add?
No, sir.
Okay, great job. Okay, thanks, guys. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 188 of 2020, a resolution scheduling a public hearing to consider applications for the conservation easement program.
So,
Second.
Moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard. We'll have a full description of the properties next week.
yeah, so these properties are both on the historic register. The first property is known as the Manning Fisher House that was added to the register last year.
Hmm.
And the second property is the former Jonesville store, which did have a tax easement which was let lapse by the previous property owner. So the current owner is desirous of getting back into the program.
Fantastic. So we look forward to hearing more on these two properties, November 2nd. I'm sorry, I said next week. I meant November 2nd at 7:05. Okay. Discussion.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 189 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the purchase of replacement compactor boxes for the transfer station.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mr. Morelli. This was a request by Mr. Vetter. We've got some containers that obviously are used on a daily basis that are in disrepair. They've been repaired many times, and he believes it's time to replace those with some newer models. Discussion. Okay, please.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard? Yes. Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 190 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to enter into a lease renewal agreement for properties at 1 Garden Road. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowitz. This continues our relationship on these specific areas for rental. People from time to time will ask me about the parking lot that is adjacent to the office building road, obviously, right across the street from the golf course and adjacent to the pool. That parking lot is privately owned. We have the ability to use it for the pool and for the golf course if needed, but it is privately owned. So when it was repaired a couple of years ago, town did not pay any money to have the parking lot repaired. Obviously, the owner of the parking lot also owns the office building, so obviously you'll see cars parked there for businesses. And I did have somebody that called the office inquiring about that. Why are business vehicles attached to a business parked in that lot? Well, we don't own the lot; we're just able to use it. So I just want to make that point. And then as far as snow removal, same thing. We're not involved in snow removal either. I do want to say we've had a very good year at the golf course, best one in some time, which is good. And, you know, it's a great, you know, I don't think anybody that was here and voted on that purchase of the course regrets it. And I know the neighborhood continues to appreciate it. Looking forward to continue making the course better and better as years go on. Any discussion? Okay, Bruce.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 191 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign just compensation letters for certain right-of-way acquisitions for pedestrian improvements in the Exit 9 corridor. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Smallwood. John, you touched on these last week. We got an update. This is part of that PSAP grant where we're trying to get this project completed. It's been held up a little bit with these very, very tiny land acquisitions that are friendly acquisitions because these landowners believe that the completion of the project will be very good for their customers or tenants. So what's new here, John?
Yes, this is basically authorizing the expenditure the town board previously authorized to do the evaluations, which have been completed, and this is fair market value offers based on the appraisals for the 4 parcels needed in fee title. That means we need to show New York State DOT that we have ownership of the land in order to get authorization for final design approval that then allows us to go out to competitive bid for construction.
Very good. And as you can see, all very small amounts. And that's because there's very small amounts of the property involved, but it will allow us to construct these state-of-the-art crossings and make the Exit 9 area even more pedestrian friendly. Any questions for John as we continue this process? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 192 of 2020, a resolution changing the location of the October 19th and November 2nd, 2020 town board meetings to the Clifton Park Senior Community Center.
So
Second.
Moved by Councilman Morelli, second by Councilwoman Wallowit. Yeah, so the next 2 meetings will be at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. Right over here in the Common. I know next week alone, we have a Boy Scout talking about an Eagle Scout project. We have a Girl Scout Silver Award project. And possibly one other youngster that we're in contact with. So should be a good night, and we need a little more space. So we're going to head back over to the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 193 of 2020, a resolution to retain MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC for professional engineering services related to the demolition and replacement of retaining walls and concrete patio at the Country Mills Pool. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen, working closely with Glen Valley and the folks up there that we work with on the pool items. There's a large retaining wall that early in the pool season was compromised. Actually, I think it occurred before the pool opened, because the pool opened late this year. The thought was, you know, the pools were then about to open. Let's put it aside and get ready to repair it for 2021. So it is not a small job, I can assure you of that. It's going to be very expensive. The wall is extensive and not repairable, so we have to, you know, start from scratch, basically. Take out what's there and start from scratch. Anything you want to add here, Dan?
No, I think that's about the most important thing. It's a very big job. That's why we had to go for engineering. It wasn't anything that we could handle in-house.
No.
So it needs to go to a sealed bid and all that. So it's a pretty extensive operation.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. It's gonna be a few bucks, but Glenn and the team there are well aware and understand the circumstances. All right, further discussion. Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandberg?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 194, a resolution accepting a proposal from CDPHP for advertising sponsorship on the Senior Express ADA compliant shuttle bus.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Mullin, second by Mr. Morelli. Now, I figured I'd put this on the agenda for discussion because we had the RFP that went out, soliciting advertisers for the senior bus. We set a minimum bid limit of 5,000. We didn't get any bidders. We just didn't find the right one, I don't know, but nobody bid. So sometime after that process, CDPHP did express interest in sponsoring the bus at 3,750. Now, the sponsor is also responsible for paying for the wrap, a large wrap that goes around the bus, and that's not an inexpensive item. There is no cost to the town. This would be for the new van. It's not the 5,000 we were looking for. Frankly, I believe that the value is worth more than $3,700, $750, $3,700. I think it's worth more, but it doesn't really matter what you think it's worth. I guess it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. I think too that once some prospective advertisers see a bus, Brooklyn Park bus that's going, we make a lot of trips out of town. With all the medical here, that has been reduced, so we do keep more and more trips in town, but we still go to many locations out of town or throughout the county. So the van gets around and it's seen by a lot of folks on a weekly basis. It may spur another prospective bidder to say, oh gee, what a great idea. I'd like to see if I can work with the town to do the same. So it might actually spur some interest as well. So I'll just throw it out there. Again, it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. I think there's value beyond the $3,700 moving forward on this. But I did ask Tom. I said, gee, we already did the RFP process, and now we're getting this offer after the RFP process. Is this still something we can consider? Even go to the town board and said yes, we could. So that's why we're here tonight. So I'll offer for any discussion or ideas that anybody has.
Is that for a 1 year term?
Mm-hmm.
30% limit?
Yes. But no, was it longer than a year? It was not. I forget, it's been so. Was it 1 year, Tom?
I don't think it was.
Or was it 3 years? You know what? That's a good question. I forgot. It's been so long since we did the bid, and I didn't look at that.
I don't recall it being as short as a year.
No, I think you're right.
I think it was the capital cost of the draft itself would.
Yeah. Do you remember, Matt? I mean, we've got the link here and everything. Yeah, we got the link right here, but I'm pressing it, it's not working. Well, we can hold off and get that question answered for you. I honestly don't remember what was in the RFP.
There's just,
Tom, behind this is the bid specifications,
That's the bid specification for the van. They are supporting.
okay.
Yeah, that's a new van we just purchased, and we are successfully secured a grant with the county, as we've done in the past, to pay for a large portion of the purchase cost. I should know that. I don't. It has been a while since we did that.
Yeah, it has.
I knew it was very fair. How's that?
I mean, it's a great advertising. It's great advertising. I mean,
Yeah,
I think driving around a lot, so they're getting a great.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for both parties. Like I said, I think there's value beyond the 3,700.
You want me
We'd have to refer back to the RFP. What's that?
to, yeah, do you want me to go upstairs and get the RFP for the advertising? Is it not in the packet?
No, it's not.
You want me to go get it?
Just the specs here. Yeah, if you could. Either that or you can hit this link.
No, because the link would have been dead after the,
After the RFP was on.
Okay, hold on, copy.
Okay.
Shall we come back to that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, resolution number 195 of 2020, a resolution referring the Wade Meadows PDD to the planning board for an advisory opinion.
So,
Second?
moved by Mr. Whalen, second by Mrs. Standard. Personally, I'm going to vote in the affirmative to move it forward for further discussion. Interested to see the planning board's view on the project, although I have many concerns about the veracity of the project moving forward. So we'll see. Any other discussion? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanders?
yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yeah.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's only been a couple of meetings. I mean, it's early. It's early.
I have a good friend, but I know it's just been.
Yeah.
Resolution number 196 of 2020, a resolution appointing Jennifer Gleason as a member of the Environmental Conservation Commission. So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Morelli. We welcome Mrs. Gleason to the ECC. Appreciate her stepping forward. We're very fortunate in this town to have people with expertise and that step forward and agreed to invest time and energy into volunteer committees for the town. So we greatly appreciate her stepping forward and looking forward to her joining the team. Any discussion? Okay. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandberg? Yes. Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. I think maybe it was 3.
Sounds better.
Yeah, I think it was 3. That's what you get for asking good questions. Yeah, it has been some time since we did the RFP. We did look back at the RFP.
Well, it's worth it. Doesn't sound like a win-win.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I think there's value above the.
That seems like the right type of company to first allow market on it.
Yeah, and they are vendor artists as well. While we're waiting, is there any other business coming before the board? Yeah. How about public privilege, John? Sir, did you want to speak? Come on up, please.
Here or there? Or?
Oh, could you come up here, please?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll just go out of turn here. Dun, dun, dun. You beat Matt. Let's see. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Larry Brodsky. I live at 81 Blue Jay Way.
Oh, hi, Larry.
How are you?
Yeah, we've been emailing.
There you go. I'm emailing several of you. I'm going to read some of this so I get all the high points. The fact that I live on Blue Jay Way for the last 19 years brings me here. I'm here to express my views and the views of approximately 45 of my neighbors.
1 year. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't believe Blue Jay Way between number 54 and 99 has been resurfaced since I've lived there, which is 18 years. For years, my neighbors and I have watched as the road deteriorates. As we just mentioned, most of you, I think except for, I think that Mr. Merrill, and I hope they got the, received emails from my neighbors and I. We're not happy. Speaking with my neighbors, they say the bottom of their driveways continue to crack from lack of support. Their children don't skateboard or bicycle much on the road because it's too dangerous. And I was talking to a new homeowner who did eventually move in, was considering not purchasing on Blue Way because of the condition of the road. Some of my neighbors have contacted the board in the past. The central question in the email, as you might, and I hope you guys read them, is will the road be resurfaced? It's not an easy answer, as I found out along the way. It has a history. It turns out there's a drainage problem under the road. It turns out the drainage pipe is not connected or coupled along the length of the pipe, and it's failing. What this means is that the road will continue to deteriorate and potentially cause dangerous and expensive sinkholes. What this means is that the repair and resurface is time critical. What this means is that the money for the repair and resurfacing is also time critical. What this means is that funds must be found in the upcoming budget. The board has the other option for the board is to not fund it in the upcoming year and hope that in the next 18 to 24 months that catastrophic road failure does not occur. If catastrophic road failure and sinkholes do occur, fixing it will be even more expensive and very disruptive for me and my neighbors. I just came here to tell you it's your call. From where I'm standing and speaking with my neighbors, we've all been faithfully paying our taxes over the years and expect that the board will find the money in the upcoming budget and fix our road as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thanks, Larry. I told you I was gonna be down there Friday afternoon. I did, and, there's quite a few patches, to say the least. That neighborhood does have a long history. There's no doubt about that. How long have you been there? Because I know you contacted me on other items that came up. I know you had an abandoned house. You had an abandoned house next to you.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Yeah.
And then there was something about the school board too, a while ago too.
Yeah. Not much I can do for you.
Yeah, I mean,
Not much I can do.
that's why they contacted me. I just think when the patch was done recently,
Yeah.
and you took a drive through there.
Yeah.
It looks horrible. I hate to
Oh,
say
yeah.
it, but it looks horrible with the patch.
Yeah, it does.
You know, at parts up near 99, it wasn't touched at all. And it's kind of, when, after that happened, people just said, is that all we're doing? Is that all we're doing? And it kind of lit a fire under me and under everyone else here. And, I understand there's a budget. I've been with the government for 30 years. But I think it's going to cost you a hell of a lot more later on. And a lot more disruptive costs, and that's important. Things start going under.
Yeah, and there's a very long history with that neighborhood. There's no doubt about it. I remember when I first came into office, I was just talking about this recently when your email and some emails from your neighbors came in. Very early in my tenure, going back 20 years. One item that was presented to me very early on was that the roads still hadn't been completed in a large portion of that neighborhood. And it was just kind of sitting there. The town was not plowing the roads. I forget how long that it had gone on where the town was not plowing the roads, even though people were living in the houses. But it was probably a couple of years, I'd say, a couple of winter seasons. And we did have to, we tried to be nice and talk to these folks from Long Island that were responsible. We finally had to threatened to take them to court, and they came up with a bond, enough money for a bond, and we deposited the check, and I remember it snowed right after that, and we started plowing the streets. There was also water issues. The water down there was a private water system, and Peacock Glen Water System, I believe is the name of it. If I remember right, the price was $4 something, 1,000 gallons back then, 20 plus years ago. So that was resolved. But the overall construction of the infrastructure in certain places, obviously not to the typical standard. I can't explain why that was, why that happened, but it's something that we're paying for now. As a matter of fact, I can't believe that it took this long for it to get bad, although it's been bad for a little while, as you explained, apparently. So it needs to be fixed, there's no doubt about it. So we're discussing and working on that now, because obviously the way it is now is not acceptable. So thank you for coming here tonight. And yeah, it was an eye opener when I went down there Friday afternoon. Thank you. So, getting back to our resolution, it is 1 year, as I see here. Okay?
Want to add that in the resolution as well?
Yeah, we could, yeah, it should be in there. Definitely should be in there, or a copy of this should be in there. So yeah, why don't you do that? And I do want to thank Raina at the Brooklyn Park Senior Community Center. She's done a great job keeping in touch with the many sponsors of the senior center, cultivating those relationships and doing a good job. So I want to thank Raina as well. Okay. We can call the question on that if everybody is comment. Okay.
Resolution number 194 of 2020, a resolution accepting a proposal from CPHP for advertising sponsorship on the Senior Express ADA compliant shuttle bus. Linda introduced it, Anthony seconded it, and it will add in for a 1-year license with option to renew partnership for an additional year for the same license fee. That's what it says.
Yeah, it's a 1 year with a
Same
1 year
license
option.
fee?
Yep.
Or do you just want it for 1 year?
Yeah, the 1 year with a 1 year option for the same license fee. Right.
Can I complicate things? Who's got the app?
They do.
They do, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they're paying for that. Okay.
Okay. Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes, thank you.
Wait.
We need a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Walloway?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
yes. Now can we go?
Thank you.